This is QTV Nightly News coming to you from our studios on Caraba Avenue, and I am Andy Kema. Thanks for joining us. Here are the main news headlines. The United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, together with the government of the Gambia, organized a town hall meeting on Wednesday on the 9th UNFPA Country Program Document, CPD 2024 to 2028. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, in collaboration with the World Bank, has commenced reviewing and validation of a language policy in education and the presentation of the Language Mapping Report 2023. 40 young people in the Central River region have received financial support from ActionAid to Gambia to equip them with self-employment and self-sufficiency skills to combat irregular migration. In international news, yesterday, the 15th of November, marked 135 years since representatives from the 14 countries, including the United States of America, met in Berlin to set the rules for Africa's colonization. In sports news, Gambia's qualifying campaign for the 2026 FIFA World Cup got off to the worst possible start as they fell to defeat against Burundi on Thursday. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV News. The United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, together with the government of the Gambia, organized a town hall meeting on Wednesday on the 9th UNFPA Country Program Document, CPD 2024-2028. Lolly M. Kamara has more.
The convergence brought together government officials, civil society organizations, United Nations agencies, and young people, amongst other critical partners, to discuss final draft of the 9th Country Program Document to be implemented over 5 years. Participants addressed various issues and suggested the next steps to successfully implement the CPD. UNFPA officials say the document will address gender and socio-cultural norms that perpetuate negative maternal health outcomes and intensify GBV, FGM, and child marriage. In addition, it will also strengthen advocacy for the implementation of legislation against harmful traditional practices in the Gambia. Dairo Sar is the United Nations Population Fund's country rep.
Really would like to unpack the investment case that you probably heard about if you haven't joined us the other day when we were presenting it to our partners, where we set the tone on where do we need investment to make sure that we end preventable maternal deaths. We address the unmet need for family planning, and we look at FGM and child marriage as an impediment to their empowerment.
The program document will focus on strengthening human resources for health, help reduce the maternal mortality ratio, particularly in hard-to-reach communities. Mariama Fane, the National Executive Director of the Population Commission Secretariat, spoke on behalf of the government of the Gambia.
From 2013 to 2019-2020, maternal mortality has reduced from 433 for every 100,000 live births to 289 for every 100,000 live births. We have also seen that there has been an increase in the uptake of family planning. Family planning has increased from 9% to 18% from 2013 to 2019-2020. We have also seen that there has been an improvement when it comes to gender-based violence, that we have registered successes, even though it has been it has been minimal over the years.
Lamin Kamara, UNFPA's deputy country rep, states some of the approach they will take to achieve some of their goals, to ensure adolescents and youth are empowered and have access to sexual reproductive health services and information to reach their full potential.
We hope to improve midwifery services in regional health facilities, offering comprehensive sexual and reproductive health care, including family planning, adolescent health, HIV prevention, and EMOG. Enhance national capacity to conduct maternal and perinatal birth surveillance and response mechanisms, including at community level.
Officials are hopeful that, when fully implemented, the document will also help the government address inequalities in accessing health services, including emergency obstetric care and ending obstetric fistula, with the goal of achieving these objectives by 2030. For QTV News, Lolly M. Camara.
The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, in collaboration with the World Bank, on Monday commenced a review and validation of a language policy in education and the presentation of the Language Mapping Report 2023. Julian Jai tells us more.
A year ago, the World Bank launched its education strategy for Western and Central Africa, From School to Jobs, a journey for the young people of the Western and Central Africa. It provides a roadmap for interventions to improve educational outcomes at all levels. Despite recent progress, according to a World Bank report from September 2023, education in the region is in crisis. 80% of 10-year-old children in Western and Central Africa are unable to read and understand a simple text, a condition referred to as learning poverty. In the Gambia, where English is the language of instruction, an appreciation for the use of national languages has long existed, but data on language coverage and usage is limited, and no formal national language policy exists. In 2011, a pilot program called Early Learning in National Languages taught children to read in 5 national languages. Grade 1 students in the pilot outperformed non-participating students in recognizing later sounds and reading simple words. Additionally, many pilot participants were able to read English words. With financing and technical assistance from the World Bank and Shell Africa, the government is now undertaking initial steps to mainstream use of national languages into a revised curriculum. Consultations and workshops with various stakeholders have been conducted to guide the development of a language of instruction policy and operational plan for utilizing national languages. The government recently conducted a language mapping exercise of all its lower basic schools to document the languages that children speak as they start school, amongst each other and in communities, and how proficient they are in these languages, as well as the languages that teachers speak and in which they are literate. The Gambians have an important journey ahead, but the data gathering and stakeholder consultations are very important and practical early steps. Here is Ibrahim Asisaho, the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education.
As we embark on this journey to validate our language in education policy, let's embrace the significance of the L1 as the bedrock of learning and understand how it can harness to reinforce acquisition of L2. Our vision is to create an education system that not only empowers students with essential language skills, but also instill a sense of cultural pride and linguistic diversity.
Faye Brofis, the World Bank resident representative, says despite registering success over the years in terms of access to basic and secondary education across the country, more needs to be done.
This MOPSI-led initiative is a crucial step in a journey that resonates with global discussions that are taking place on education. Around the world, there is growing recognition of the importance of language of instruction in enhancing foundational learning. The World Bank, in our commitment to this global dialogue, supports the exploration of bilingual or multilingual instruction policies as a key to unlocking educational potential.
Madam Brophy says the bank will continue to support the Gambia in this endeavor. For QTV News, I am Julden Yai.
40 young people in the Central River region have received financial support from ActionAid the Gambia under the Protective Services and Economic Alternatives to Potential Young People and Returnees project. As Jennifer Sonko reports, the project started in 2022 and 80 young people have already benefited from it.
Through the Protective Services and Economic Alternatives to Potential Young People and Returnees, young people, potential migrants and returnees in Nyamina are trained on poultry production, gardening, tree nursery, sustainable soil management, beekeeping, marketing, crop choice, biofertilizers, organic fertilization, biological pest control and natural pesticides to equip them with the self-employment and self-sufficiency skills. The project seeks to improve access to alternative incomes, increase awareness of migration-related risks and rights, food security and illegal transit of migrants in the Gambia and Senegal. Here is Hadi Dandejabi, ActionAid's board chairperson.
In 2022, 40 young people, 18 male and 22 females, completed their training and are now running their respective poultries, small ruminant and vegetable production schemes. There were 23 women from 3 communities, which are Dalaba, Jamara, and Kumbuya, Fula Kunda, who received practical training on organic vegetable production.
The funding for the project was secured from the Coty Foundation in Italy at a cost of over €300,000. Each of the 40 beneficiaries received a check for $50,000 to start a business in their own interest areas. Erika Pelakani is the head of the EU delegation in the Gambia.
So we are very proud to see that 2 years after the end of the project is still up and running, that there are students that are coming out, and there are the community as well that is benefiting from these activities. Agroecology is so important, and you can make a big difference. Agroecology is about keeping a balance between the nature, the land, the people, the animals, that all of that can make sure that we, first of all, ensure that we can feed the people and also be respectful of the environment.
For proper implementation, a community demonstration farm has been identified in Dalaba village for the trainees. The demo farm has been equipped with farm input and equipment such as a refrigerated van, refrigerators, agricultural tool set, a borehole, animal feed, amongst others. Keba Jalo is a trainee and beneficiary of the project.
It is really devastating to see potential youths in their prime perishing in the deadly oceans and the dry Sahara Desert just to succeed, because it's a common mindset that many African youths have: without going to Europe, we will not succeed. On behalf of all the graduating class, I would like to thank everyone who made our stay at Dalaba Demo Farm good. The big bosses, the teaching staff, we thank you all for always giving us your best.
In recent months, there has been a surge in reports of boats leaving the Gambia's coastline carrying migrants intending to get to Europe. Some of the young people say they want to leave because they lack opportunities to make it in the Gambia. It is hoped that the ActionAid project will encourage young people to stay in their country and develop skills and opportunities for a livelihood. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jenna Basonko.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have national, international and sports news stories. Do stay tuned.
Jënd ak njaay mi fi faral di am dellu si waat na sa Independence Stadium. The Gambia Youth Chamber of Commerce ñoo am lëkkaloo ak the Gambia Women Chamber of Commerce dikkati neen si juróomi pàcc bu jigéen ñi ak ndawi réew mi ñuy yëngu si fàggu koom-koom mbay muy agro business ak tourism trade fair si atum ren bi. Dajeem jënd ak jaay mi mu ngi yokk ak di fulandil ay jumtukaay yu xarañ tukkee si ay ndaw ak jigéen yu màcc ci baana fii si réewu Gambia. Dinañ fa dalal ay baana yu xarañ jógee sa Afrique saw jent ngir suqali nangute bi mootaay réewu Afrique fas ngir jëriñ seen doomi réew tukkee si jënd ak jaay. Dinañ fa am ay yëngu-yëngu yu bégle te am solo lu si mel ni jongante xarañteef, màggal bési jigéen ñi ak ndaw ñi, woy ak feeñal aada ak cosaan ak yeneen xeetu xew-xew yu neex yu kawe seen njot. Gaaw leen bindu ngir taxawal palaasu njaay di tàmbale benn fan jëm ba si ñaar fukki fan ak juróom si décembre. Dégg ngeen ma de si diiru ñaar fukki fan ak juróom ngir sabablu jënd jaay nangute ak lëkkaloo tukkee si wàllu baana di xewee sa bërëbu Independence Stadium sa Bakaw. Pour am si ay bataaxal yu leer wooteel 368 5556 368 5556 203 1080 203 1080 wala 5200045 5200045 ñu tasee Trade Fair.
The future is now with QCell's 5G network. Experience speeds like never before with our new 5G Rocket Fixed Internet plan. Get speeds from 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps. Your 5G-enabled devices. Walk into QCell headquarters to get one of our 5G routers and experience the true feeling of 5G. Only with QCell. QCell brings you the future. Tech, innovation, incredible speed. The future is now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyapus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. This is QTV News. As groundnut farmers across the country are busy harvesting their groundnuts, our North Bank region correspondent Don Williams visited some of them to find out how their prospects for this year's crops are. Here is the report.
Rainy season, which is the Gambia's main planting season for groundnuts, has come to an end and the groundnuts are ripe and farmers are harvesting. At Ngel village in the outskirts of Rafeni, by Jara, a farmer said the rainy season was good and fertilizer price was good.
We thank God for this year's farming season. The groundnuts and the coups have done very well. There was sufficient rainfall, and we also got the fertilizer and applied it early. But we are appealing with the government to reduce the cost of fertilizer. However, we will get a good harvest this season.
Aissatou Cham, another farmer from Geru Angle, shared her experience about the farming season.
This year harvest is very good compared to that of last year, because this year we have enough harvest than last year. Because this year the groundnut is very good, coarse, maize, everything is very good than that of last year. The fertilizer, definitely, we have it this year. This year's price is very low compared to that of last year. Many farmers were not unable to buy the fertilizer last year, but this year we have the fertilizer at a lower price.
Aissatou Cham also commended the meteorological department for accurate weather forecast.
The weather forecast is very good. It's accurate and it also guides farmers as well. The rain this year was very high. It rains too much, especially in the month of August. We were unable to find it very difficult to weed our farm. As you can see, we are in the harvesting, but still now you could see grasses all over the farm.
At Makaforafeni, women and children were busy collecting the uprooted groundnuts ready for threshing. Fatukini Gay is another farmer at Kunjo village.
We are farmers and we have lots of challenges. We work with our hands because we don't have enough machines to make our work easier and reduce our burden. Sometimes we even get sick due to the hard work we do.
This year, the farmers we spoke to say they are expecting a bumper harvest, which is attributed to the amount of rainfall and availability of fertilizer. Don Williams, reporting for QTV News for Rafeni.
We will now take a look at news outside the country. In international news, few historic events have been as closely associated with the European empire building and the colonization of Africa as the Berlin Conference on West Africa of 1884-85, which opened on this day, 15th November, in the newly created nation-state Germany, with representatives from 14 countries, including the United States of America. More in this report by Mamadou Mboj.
This gathering of major European powers, convened by German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, aimed to regulate the colonization and exploitation of Africa. And by its end, on the 26th February 1885, the continent had been carved up among the powers along arbitrary boundaries that disregarded the contexts of history, culture, and language. The imperial cartographers, as one historian put it, sat hunched over a map, armed with rulers and pencils, and proceeded to sketch a hodgepodge of geometric boundaries that divided Africa into 50 or so irregular countries. According to one historian, the new countries lacked rhyme or reason and divided coherent groups of people and merged together disparate groups who really did not get along. Lines of longitude and latitude, rivers and mountain ranges were pressed into service as borders separating the colonies. Nigerian historian Oleyemi Akunyumi sees the Berlin Conference as the crucible for future inner-African conflict. It established the rules for the conquest and partition of Africa, in the process legitimizing the ideas of Africa as a playground for others. Its mineral wealth as a resource for the outside world, not for Africans, and its fate as a matter not to be left to Africans. American journalist Daniel De Leon described the conference as an event unique in the history of political science. Diplomatic in form, it was economic in fact. A week before the conference closed, the Lagos Observer declared that the world had perhaps never witnessed a robbery on so large a scale. 6 years later, another editor of a Lagos newspaper, comparing the Legacy Conference to the slave trade, said, "A forcible possession of our land has taken the place of a forcible possession of our person." While the conference didn't begin the process of colonization that was well underway, it established the principle of effective occupation, which stated that no territory could be formally claimed prior to being directly ruled and administered by the colonial power. With this principle, the powers felt even more compelled to intervene and establish themselves on the ground, which further speeded up the scramble for colonies. At the time of the conference, 80% of Africa was ruled by local rulers. By 1900, 90% of Africa was under colonial rule. The so-called Congo Free State, modern-day Democratic Republic of Congo, was given to the Belgian King Leopold II, who regarded the country as his private property and unleashed a reign of terror that ceased in 1908 when the colony was taken over by the Belgian state. The Berlin Conference was Africa's undoing in more ways than one, according to one historian, arguing that the colonial powers superimposed their domains on the African continent. By the time independence returned to Africa in the 1960s, the realm had acquired a legacy of political fragmentation that could neither be eliminated nor made to operate satisfactorily. Sobering thoughts that deserve some reflection. For QTV News, I'm Mahmoud Mbouch.
And now let's take a look at what is happening in the world of sports. Gambia's qualifying campaign for the 2026 FIFA World Cup got off to the worst possible start as they fell to defeat against Burundi on Thursday. Our sports reporter Mamoudou Gajaga watched it all and he now reports.
Burundi put up an impressive performance in their home FIFA World Cup 2026 qualifier campaign against Gambia and were deserved victors, winning 3-2 at the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium in Tanzania. Burundi scored twice through Abedi Bijirimana and Frederick Nasibiyumva in the first half before Omar Colley reduced the deficit after Musa Barrow's shot outside the box. Gambia were on the back foot for much of the first half, failing to deal with dangerous crosses, which eventually led to the 2 goals they conceded. This is after passing up an excellent chance, which went missing, a seemingly simple chance in the 13th minute by Musa Barrow. The second half showed more stability from the Gambia team after Hamza Barry was introduced for Ibu Adams. There was an improved performance in keeping possession. However, Burundi were dangerous in wide areas and deservedly scored a 3rd goal through the individual brilliance of substitute Sudi Abdallah. Late on in added time, Abdoulaye Sanyang was brought down in the box for a penalty. Ibrahim Akoli converted to give the scoreline a flattering look and was not even a consolation, coming in the 8th minute of added-on time at the end of the match. In truth, Gambia were well beaten as they lost 3-2 and Burundi deserved their victory. The Gambia will play against Cote d'Ivoire on Monday, 28th November, at the same venue. The team and their fans will be hoping for a much better showing than the weak performance they put up against Burundi. Mamoudou Gajaga, QTV News.
Well, quite disheartening to see Gambia stumble there, but we wish them the best of luck in their next game. Before we end this bulletin, here's a recap of the headlines. The United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, together with the government of the Gambia, organized a town hall meeting on Wednesday on the 9th UNFPA Country Program Document, CPD 2024-2028. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, in collaboration with the World Bank, has commenced reviewing and validation of language policy in education and the presentation of the Language Mapping Report 2023. 40 young people in the Central River region have received financial support from Action Aid the Gambia to equip them with self-employment and self-sufficiency skills to combat irregular migration. In international news, yesterday, the 15th of November, marked 135 years representatives from 114 countries, including the United States of America, met in Berlin to set the rules for Africa's colonization, paving the way for 19th century European scramble and partition of the continent. In sports news, Gambia's qualifying campaign for the 2026 FIFA World Cup got off the worst possible start as they failed to defeat against Burundi, who beat them 3-2. Well, that's all we have for you in this bulletin. Join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thanks for watching.